Hi, I'm Denise Dubois, and this is a special segment of the Citizen of East Alabama. Today we're very excited to have with us Lee County Sheriff Jay Jones, who was on January 23rd named the Alabama Sheriff of the Year.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is
Thank you
wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell us, on January 23rd, what actually happened that day?
Well, the Alabama Sheriff's Association membership is comprised of all 67 sheriffs in the state of Alabama. And we have two conferences each year, training conferences, business conferences. The winter conference is the one set aside for the installation of the officers for the association for the coming year. And part of the banquet, where the installation takes place on the Tuesday night of the conference, is the recognition of the Sheriff of the Year. The award is named after our longtime executive director for the Sheriff's Association, Robert D. Bobby Timmons, as he's known. This award was instituted in 2014, and the first year of award was 2015. It recognizes a sheriff in the association that exemplifies the characteristics of leadership, character in operations of office, just one that is of primary service to the community and just sort of stands out as having the qualities that you would expect a leader to have and a person in the position of office of sheriff. And it is a vote of the sheriffs themselves. It's not just something that a committee selects. It is a nominated and voted upon award.
So all of your peers in the state of Alabama have named this for you, have named you for this award?
Yes. That's how it worked. And as a result, of course, on the banquet last Tuesday night, that's when the award was announced. And I was not paying attention at the time the award was. You know, there's sometimes when you hear but you don't hear something. And I was talking with some of the other folks at the table that I was at, and it got real quiet in the room. And they looked at me and they said, "They just called your name." And I was, "What?" And I literally was stunned. I was so shocked. It was a complete surprise, and they took great delight in making me realize how much of a surprise it was, which I already knew. And they had kept the secret quiet, and it was so funny because I had been asking about the sheriff that I had nominated.
Right.
And of course, I would ask the committee members and the other folks. I said, "Hey, did Sheriff Mack?" And they were going, "Oh, they're still working the committee. We're still tabulating." Little did I know, I should have figured that one out. But anyway, they did tell me there was one dissenting vote. That would have been mine for somebody else.
Wow.
So, but it's an extremely humbling experience, a very high honor, and the primary point to me is that it's more about all of the staff, our deputy sheriffs, our corrections officers, our personnel, our everyone at the Lee County Sheriff's Office that does such a good job day in, day out. They're the reason for the award, not me. I give all credit to them, and as a matter of fact, I told the folks at the association, "Gosh, you need to make about 165 more of these things for every employee at the Sheriff's Office because they deserve it just as much."
That is absolutely wonderful. So what does that mean for you now as the Alabama Sheriff of the Year?
I'm going to have to work harder, I guess. To me personally, I think it certainly is satisfying to know that I'm doing a job that other people seem to recognize is being the right way to do it, in the proper manner, and it really does motivate me to work even harder and to ensure that I'm doing the job that I was hired to do, literally hired by the voters in Lee County, and that is provide public safety service and whatever other assistance we can in the line of our mission and responsibilities.
So you have been a law enforcement officer for 42 years.
That's right.
Is that all in Lee County, or is that a compilation everywhere?
That's my time at Lee County.
Wow.
I started with the Sheriff's Office as a senior, when I was in my senior year at Auburn University, and did an internship, and a fall of 1975, and began working. And the more I was there, the more I liked it. And a lot of people in law enforcement will tell you, once you get involved, it literally gets in your blood. I mean, well, maybe not actually, but it might as well, because it is something that you either love it or you don't, and it is more than a job to me. And I think other law officers would tell you the same thing. It's a calling. I mean, it's something that you feel like you not only would like to do, but that you need to do. And it's all about service. That's the primary thing.
So what was your first job with the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I worked as a communications officer and jailer. At the time, we only had one person in the office that during a 24-hour period, especially late at night, in the night shift, and that's where I started. I was responsible for communications with the units in the field, answering the calls for service, 911 calls, if you will. We didn't have 911 then. We had a standard number.
So you had a number that somebody had to memorize?
Pretty much.
A little
yeah.
more difficult than the 911.
Right. We had a toll-free number to the southeast part of the county, the Smith Station area, Salem area in particular, and I'm sure some folks will remember that. But taking calls for service, dispatching units to the calls, whatever the circumstances happen to be, and then, of course, looking after the inmates in the county jail at the time, which was located directly above the sheriff's office at the courthouse downtown Opelika. One
of your first jobs with the Lee County Sheriff's Office was looking after inmates?
That's right.
They just baptized you by fire, didn't they?
It threw me right into the nest there, and that is a true learning experience. I really feel like that really helped me to develop a better understanding of what the job is all about, having worked the different positions within the sheriff's office.
So what did you do after that?
Well, after that, I was called in the office just prior to the beginning of the summer or spring quarter, and the sheriff asked me if I would like to have a job. Sheriff Jim Pearson at the time, a great man, and I remember asking him, well, I thought I already had one, and he said, what? No, we're going to pay you. Because I'd been just basically volunteering.
Well, yes.
And I said, okay, I'll take it.
Of course. I'm already doing what I love. Let me just get paid for it.
Didn't even ask what the pay was. Didn't care.
Didn't matter, did it?
No, it didn't matter. I truly loved what I was doing. I was hooked. I was done. I was ready to go. And from that point forward, it's just been I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't change a thing.
Did you think when, for instance, at career days when you were younger and teachers ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you ever think that you wanted to be in law enforcement or be a sheriff?
About probably my 7th grade, 6th grade year, I really started thinking about it. I mean, I always admired police officers and law enforcement officers and state troopers, highway patrolmen, and I'd always had kind of a leaning toward that way, and just really had a lot of respect for those men and women. And I was my first chance at being a school crossing guard. I actually got turned down.
No.
Yeah, when I was in elementary school, I was devastated. I said, "Oh my gosh!" But as time went on, I never lost sight of the interest in a career in public safety and law enforcement, and since then, so it's been going for a while.
What made you decide to run for sheriff almost 20 years ago now?
I truly love the sheriff's office. It is something that I just cannot imagine anything else that I would rather be doing. And Sheriff Chapman, Herman Chapman at the time, he announced his retirement. And I thought, gosh, this would be an opportunity. And he, one of my mentors, he encouraged me. He said, you really should consider doing that. He said, I think you would do a good job. And I said, well, which meant a lot to me because I highly respected Sheriff Chapman. He was an old-time lawman, had been there, done that kind of experience. And with his encouragement, I decided to give it a shot and run for sheriff.
And 19 years later, you continue to love it?
People, absolutely. People have been so kind to me, the folks in Lee County, and in other areas as well. I so appreciate their confidence and their support, which has been just, I cannot describe how appreciative I am of the support and the confidence folks have placed in us. And I certainly want to make sure that we do the job that they expect us to do and do it right.
That is wonderful. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Thanks for watching.
I'm Loretta Rose, host of Spotlight on Lee County. I am inviting you to tune in to the show on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Watch Spotlight on Lee County as I go out in the community and highlight various businesses, organizations, and the great things that are happening in the Lee County area. So remember, tune in on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. here on CTV Beam. It's bringing East Alabama more.
I'm Denise Dubois, and we are back with Alabama Sheriff Jay Jones, who was recently nominated the Alabama Sheriff of the Year. You have been a part of this community as a law enforcement officer, like you said, for 42 years. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Maybe we can get to know who you are.
Well, certainly. I originally from Kansas City, Kansas. That's where I was born. My family, parents and extended generations family on both sides, mom and dad were from the Texas area, state of Texas, primarily around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, a town called Mesquite. Some people probably may have heard of Mesquite, Texas. It was a small town back when I was growing up, but now it's huge. I think it's just a suburb of the Dallas metroplex there. Anyway, when I was in first grade, we moved to Montgomery. My father changed jobs from a company in Kansas City to Montgomery, Alabama, and we moved there, and I attended second grade through high school in Montgomery. Grew up in Montgomery. Went to and graduated from Sidney Lanier High School in Montgomery. I give some of the folks that I work with a hard time because they were Lee graduates. Lee Lanier was the big rivalry back in the day. And, oh boy, I can tell you a story. But anyway, I decided on graduation from high school, applied and got accepted to Auburn University, and have been in the Auburn, Opelika area ever since.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So in your time as a law enforcement officer, you have been a uniformed officer.
Right.
You've been in the investigative division and including the chief investigator, and now the sheriff. So talk a little bit about what a typical day would be like for maybe each of those three positions.
Okay. Our uniformed deputies that folks see on the street answering calls for service and what have you, they work a 12-hour shift, 4 days a week. They work a 4-day on, 4-day off, 12-hour shift. That can get to be kind of a long and tedious routine, but it depends. It's all about just, there's no way to plan your day, obviously, in that type, because your day is planned for you,
of course,
based on the service calls. But that there can be days where it's fairly routine, whatever that is in law enforcement, and then there can be days when you start work, and then the next thing you know, the shift's over. It's that quick because you're constantly in motion, you're constantly doing things. And it's a mission to provide a service and to provide protection and do everything you can to make the community safe, and that's what their primary function is. And I'm a little biased, but we've got what I consider to be the best of the best, and there may be some that's good, but there's not any better when you're talking about our folks in uniform.
Of course.
Investigations, different. That's a plainclothes assignment, and you're constantly taking information and attempting to develop more from that. It's all about developing information into what you need in order to bring about a solution to a problem. Basically, that's it, and it just so happens involves criminal activity. We have a very high caseload with our investigators. We've got several investigators, but they are constantly working every day, spend a lot of time communicating with folks, going to different locations, working to develop information that's going to assist them in many cases, identifying and apprehending individuals that are responsible for committing crimes in our jurisdiction. And they take great pride in doing a thorough job and making sure that it's done the way it's supposed to be done. And then, of course, in an administrative position like mine, it's all about ensuring that everyone that is working in the different divisions, whether it be in uniform patrol or whether they're in investigation, whether they're in our school resource division, whether they're our corrections division, which, an aside on that, they have one of the hardest jobs out there. Those corrections deputies, and any sheriff will tell you that the folks that he or she have working in their jail, they're the ones that have to really work very hard and put up with a lot of stuff and they are the linchpin. I'm telling you, they don't get enough credit. I really feel like they should get more credit due, because I always tell our folks on the street, I said, you may encounter dangerous people out there, no question, because that's part of your job. But think about it this way: our corrections deputy sheriffs, they're in the jail, and they're working with people that might be of risk every day long.
That's right.
Every day, and it's a tough job, and it takes a special person to do it, and we've got some dedicated folks. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I put a little parenthesis in. My job is to make sure that those divisions and all the personnel have what they need to do the job. That's what I think my primary role is, and to ensure that they get the support they need to perform the service that they're required to do is our mission, to serve the public.
That's obviously very different than being a uniformed officer. Do you ever miss any part of being an officer or being in the investigative division?
Every day.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think about it every day. I truly enjoyed my time in uniform patrol, and certainly loved investigation. I like a challenge.
Right.
I like a puzzle. I like talking to people. I really enjoy getting to be around folks, getting to know different people and talk about things, and I thoroughly enjoyed that work.
Is it safe to say that has maybe what has kept you in this position for so long?
I certainly think it's a contributing factor. If it is, as with anything, it's about communication. You really need to be able to communicate with people, and if you can't do that, then you're going to be at a loss. That's for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about maybe the best part about being the sheriff, or even just an officer in general.
Okay. I'm asked that question constantly. Hey, what's the favorite part of being sheriff? And my answer has always been the same, and I'm sure it probably always will be. It gives me the opportunity to work with some of the best people in the world, in my opinion, the folks on our staff. That is the best part of the job. And right up there with it is when someone comes with a problem, and generally when we get a call from folks that need help, they're certainly not having the best day.
Of course.
In the world, as everyone would understand. And if we can do something to help those people, whatever the circumstance might be, that's what I like about the job, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy, along with working with some of the best people that you'd ever want to be around and work with. That to me is what it's all about. If someone tells me or gives me a call sometime after I've had an interaction or whatever, and they say, hey, the other day I called and I had this issue, and you did this or that, and hey, it helped. What else can I say?
Best thing ever, isn't it?
Best thing ever. That's a good day.
So on the flip side of that, what is maybe the toughest thing or the most challenging thing about your position?
Not being able to solve every problem. Of course, that's something obviously we can't do.
Right.
But it's if we give it our best shot, and despite our best efforts, we're not able to bring a resolution, or we're not able to successfully resolve a circumstance, that bothers me, as it would, I'm sure, anybody, and that's the bad part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a particular instance over the course of your career that maybe stands out in your mind, whether exciting, good, or maybe hard, anything like that you would like to talk about?
It'd be hard to pick one singular event or circumstance, but I can do it in kind of a class of something that I've had happen more than once, that really, to me, defined the job. I've had contact with individuals that will come up to me as adults and say, hey, do you remember me? And of course, I feel bad. I say, I'm sorry. And then of course they say, okay, my name is so-and-so. And they'll remind me, said, back when I was in school, grade school or something, and we had something happen, and you came to our house or whatever, and you helped us, and it made a difference in the direction of my life.
Yes.
And I've been able to be successful, and I just want to tell you, you played a part in doing that.
There's nothing better than that, is there?
That's about as good as it gets, and it doesn't get any better than that. And I just can't think of anything more rewarding than being able to help somebody, that, especially in the time of need.
Now, talking about younger kids and being involved with those, you are involved in the Too Good for Drugs in school. Is that one of the programs that y'all do?
That's right. A lot of people are very familiar with have heard of the DARE program.
Right, that's what it was when I was in school.
The Too Good for Drugs program that we conduct in the schools, our school resource officers are the ones that do it. It's same mission, same type theme, is to work with youngsters to help them avoid the pitfalls of substance abuse, violence, resolving conflict with violence, which is a problem in our society today,
yes.
as anyone I'm sure would agree, and just learning how to respect others, how to believe in themselves. The Too Good for Drugs, the part that you can add to that is at the beginning, and it's I'm too good for drugs,
yes.
and violence as well. And that's what we try, the message we try to work with the children, with the students in the schools, the fifth graders in our county school system, and get them to believe in themselves and know that if they work hard, if they stay on mission, if they stay on task, that they can be successful. And you know, you're going to have failures. I mean, that's a part of life. But you learn from those, and the main thing is you get back up and you go at it. Just keep going. And if you do that, you'll be successful. And that's what that message of the program is really about. The kids really like it. We try to involve the parents, the school administrators. I can't say enough good things about the Lee County school system, administrators and teachers, the principals at all our schools in the county. They are wonderful folks, and they believe in the program. They help us and allow us to bring it, and last but not least, the parents that allow us to work with their children. I mean, it's an honor to do that, and we just try to do some good.
And they have to obviously carry that mission home. You know, they're the ones responsible for their children, so
Absolutely.
they have to take that message that you give them and build their children up as they raise
That's
them.
right.
So I understand.
It's not 100% effective, what program is, but if we can dissuade just one child, one youngster to avoid these problems and peer pressures and issues, and stay away from things that are going to harm them eventually, then you know we're doing our job, and that's what it's about.
So what are some other things that you're involved in our community?
Well, let's see. As far as our office operations, we like to offer programs that are a little bit beyond the normal scope of what the requirements of the sheriff's office are, and that's community programs. We like to do things that will help people to have information to avoid, in many cases, being involved as a victim of crime, to protect them, to assure the safety. We have a program called the RAD program, R-A-D, Rape Aggression Defense, that our deputy sheriffs do. And by the way, our women deputies are the ones
yes.
that are the instructors. It's a program just for women. Guys aren't allowed. That's the way it is. And it helps them to learn to avoid situations that might put them in peril.
Okay.
And also if they can't do that and they find themselves in a situation where they might be threatened or harmed or assaulted, to have some physical things that they can do to hopefully evade, escape and evade.
Of course.
And that's very important. We've been conducting that class for a while, and it's been very successful. And we even conducted at the university, at Auburn University.
That's wonderful.
Helped the University Public Safety folks do it. We have a program especially for our elder citizens. We have an Are You OK program. It's free. All you have to do is give us a call and we'll add them to the list. It gives a computer-generated phone call at the time of day of the choosing of the individual, just to check on them. It literally is, are you okay?
That's really nice.
And if we don't get a response, then it triggers our contacting family members in the nearby area to check. If that doesn't work, it will involve up to and including us sending out a patrol unit to actually check on that citizen to make sure they're okay. There's been a couple over the years that were actually in distress, and had it not been for that, we wouldn't have known that, and we were actually able to get to them and render some assistance.
That is wonderful to hear, that you have a program like that can help people.
We have a program called Project Lifesaver, which includes a radio band that transmits for individuals that might have some mental health issues, whether it's dementia, maybe Alzheimer's along that line, that if they were to wander away from home and become disoriented and lost, that will help us to locate them. That program to this date has been 100% effective in locating individuals, usually in less than an hour.
Wow.
Sometimes much sooner than that, and that's a program we're very pleased to offer.
I guess unless you have to deal with that particular problem, you don't really think that there's an issue, but
right.
You guys have obviously found that there is a need for it and supplied the solution. It's wonderful.
Personally, in my family, we've had a family member that suffered from dementia, and had gotten away, literally gotten away. And we were fortunate. They did not weren't part of the program, but we were able to find him. But I was driven clearly home to me how important it is to be able to locate that individual as quickly as possible.
So I guess the final thing that I would like to ask you is if you have any advice for people who are maybe thinking about being involved in law enforcement or becoming a sheriff's deputy, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that the number one thing they need to do is work and learn as much as they can about how to be an effective communicator with people.
Oh, that's a hard thing today with text messaging.
It is hard because text messaging is counterintuitive
Yes.
to that with the
Yes.
smartphones and things like that. Great communication devices, but you lose the art of face-to-face, talking to people, engaging conversation. And you can learn so much more in face-to-face human interaction than you can on a piece of electronic. That, in my opinion, I'm sure there might be those that differ, but I'm stuck on. That's the way I believe. In law enforcement, public safety, you've got to be able to communicate with people, and you've got to be able to understand, and you've got to be a good listener. I mean, that's the bottom line. And you've got to learn how to empathize with folks and understand, where they're coming from as far as their circumstance, and not adopt just an attitude of thinking what to do in every situation. There's no textbook that gives you how to respond to any one particular issue. You've got to be able to adapt and be and improvise, and communication is the only way to really be effective in doing that.
That is absolutely wonderful advice. We thank you so much for being on our show with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
This has been a segment of The Citizen of East Alabama with Lee County Sheriff Jay Jones. I'm Denise Dubois. Thanks for watching.